Hi everyone. This is probably the most common belt sander made in the world today. It comes from China. And that doesn't mean it's bad. It's probably pretty good, given that it's probably constructed under 4 or 5 different brand names. Those are brand names you might see on the internet, but there might be a few more out there that you haven't seen that are probably under Asian names. So, what I'm going to do with this thing, because I bought it, I'm going to take it out of the box and put it on my world's dirtiest workbench, and I'm going to set it up and get it to work because I have some motorcycle handguards that I need to grind down a little bit. So here we go. One of the things I find most interesting about people on the internet is they unbox these things by putting the box on the floor and then lifting the unit out of the box and putting it on the work table. That's something I did with this Ryobi unit here, the drill press, and that was not light. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to cut this box open where it stands and then just lift the unit up and set it down next to the box. Hopefully that'll come out a little bit better. Have you ever stabbed yourself with a box staple? Wow, there's a lot of tape on this thing. You can tell this thing's built to be shipped a long ways. Ta-da! Okay, so this part of the unit should stand up somehow. Let's see, that's belt tension. Let's get out of there. Okay, that's out of there. Anywhere. It works. Okay, so the next thing you should probably do, pull out the instructions and take a little time and read them, and maybe even put on the sanding disc. Alright. Yeah, you only get one. I actually put that on pretty straight. That's actually pretty good. Yeah, I did a pretty good job with that sanding disc. Now there's going to be a table that bolts on here. This part stands up. Dust collection on the side, power switch, safety lock, not much else to it, very simple. So we're going to finish assembling this and get it up and running. These Diablo stick-fast discs aren't very tacky. They will work, but you will find that eventually they're going to start peeling away. If you have a disc on the unit and you want to take it off, start peeling at the upper corner. Some people, what they do is they fold it back and slip it under the guard, like so, and then fold it back and then slip that under the guard, and so on. Then as they rotate it around, this one's, I'm going to try and fold that really good. You can see how I've got most of it off the disc, and then peel, and so on, and peel, and then pull. Eventually you're going to get that disc off, but you're going to need your solvents to clean up that disc. And the first thing you should reach for is a non-abrasive but tough abrasive pad for cleaning pots and pans. This one won't hurt metal. It's very good for cleaning everyday pots and pans without scratching your pots and pans. So this is used for like non-stick pans, not stainless steel. And that's the kind of pad, abrasive pad, that I want to use for this piece of equipment. I don't want to hurt it. I don't want to wear it down, because eventually things are just going to go bad. One thing you should be aware of is that Ryobi makes a lot of tools. So there's your 18 volt tools, and there's your 40 volt tools. Just because they make it doesn't mean it's great. Okay, I have their 18 volt chainsaw, and it works. It's a pain in the butt because you have to keep charging the 18 volt battery, and you might need 3 charges to cut down a tree, which means it'll take you all day because you have to run down the battery, cutting down the tree, put the battery back on the charger, and then put it back in the unit. There's also a bunch of 40 volt tools, which are a lot better. You're going to find them a little less troublesome because they have a little bit more horsepower. This company sells a lot of stuff. Not all of it great. There's a lot of upsides to that drill, and there's a lot of upsides to the sander. Being very common is one of them, but you might have an issue. Something might go wrong. And if that is the case, you probably aren't going to do very well with the Ryobi website. The Ryobi website is for sales, not necessarily for support or service. There's a lot of YouTube videos out there about these units, and they're all wonderful. Take a look at them, watch them, and you might get some tips on how to set this thing up and how to use it. It really is a pretty good tool. Assembly. There's your assembly instructions. I mean, that's your assembly instructions. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put that away. There's a table that's supposed to go here. There's a knob here. So you get a knob and some hardware with that table. There's a guard that goes over that sanding disc. And there's some very tiny, crappy sheet metal screws in there that go with it, and even tinier washers. So when you're tearing that open, be very careful when dumping that out. Make sure you get the parts. Let's get a close-up of this. So it looks like that goes like that. These parts are impossibly small. And one of the things that Ryobi is notorious for is screwing metal screws into plastic chassis. Now, interestingly, that seems to be at an angle. Interesting. Ta-da! Look at that. That doesn't seem to quite fit.
Maybe. That's the wrong hole. So. Let's try it this way. That makes more sense. Alright.
So now that's level, and I can just screw that in, and that's not going to be a big deal. You got a bag with a knob in it and a washer. Probably want to put the washer on the knob, and then you just put that on there like that. Find the hole, and then carefully thread it in. Okay, that's all the way up. I always wondered. Okay, the table is high side back. That's high side front. Alright. It's probably a little too much. Not bad. Not bad at all. Some of these bags are open, some of them are taped shut. So when you turn the bag over, you have to be careful not to spill out. You can see I can just lay that into the track. Okay, so the way this looks, there's a couple of holes in the back there, and my guess is it mounts there. So, and this side is open, so I'm going to have to turn the unit around and bolt it on. They give you these bolts with it, so I'm going to have to cut them out of the package. I don't like tearing at things because I just wind up hurting myself. So, alright. Alright, so they give you a wrench, and they give you a couple of bolts, but they don't really give you a great idea as to exactly what you're doing. So, let's see, can you see that over there? So I'm guessing you have to adjust the height so the sander does not wind up grinding off the bottom of the shield. So you want to give that, you know, a little bit thicker than a credit card. This plastic bar isn't really perfectly square or straight. It's probably a little swollen near the end here, so it doesn't go in all the way. So the next thing is you know, well, that's not quite right. That's at 1 degree. And that is square. That's not so good. Okay, so that's it. Not half bad. Pretty good. There is something interesting about this Ryobi desk sander, and that is the ability to raise up the top belt. There is a positioning lock bolt right here, and you can loosen that bolt with a hex key, which they provide. And if that's loose enough, you can stand the unit up, just like that, which is really cool. I like that. But I'm going to rotate this camera down for you so you can see. Try and get at that bolt now. You can't. So, you know, that's raised up. Is it locked into position? No, it's not. See, look. So, that's loose. So, how would you ever fasten that for safety with this guard in place? You have to take this guard off to get at that bolt to lock it into place, which is silly. Okay, so there you go. Another one of these little quirks of the Ryobi desk sander. Now, there's a little secret here, and that is that you can keep this plate in place, but you have to have this bolt in exactly the right position. So as you raise this up and lock it into place, you need to turn that just enough to get that into place. And now that's kind of sort of locked into position. So, is that right? No, it's not right. It's not really locked into position. It's just kind of snug there. Can I turn it on? Do I like this thing spinning like that close to my face? No. But that's my demo for raising and lowering the belt. Just remember that when you raise that up, this guard gets in the way of that locking bolt. Genius, absolute genius. Well, it seems to be straight. Square? I don't know about square, but it seems to be straight. It seems to be trapezoidal in some way. Just because it's straight doesn't mean it's right. Well, I can tell you it. I can tell you it feels straight, but it's not. And it's far from 100%. You know, it just looks really good on the surface, but it's grabby in places. Apparently, this spot right here, it's thicker than here and over here. So there, it's a little thick. And that's where it's grabbing the table. So that needs a little sandpaper. There we go. Yeah, it's tight there. I didn't sand it too much, but at least it's not gripping now. Fixed it. The vacuum collection system does not work. I removed the side of the unit to see if the dust collection port is doing anything. I really gave this a lot of thought, and I thought, why don't I just hook up, my industrial vacuum to that port. And when I took the plate off, this is what I found. That isn't designed to collect dust. That is a half-assed dust collection chute kind of a thing. And because of its gap here, that'll never work. So even if I hooked up the vacuum to it, it wouldn't do anything. And the way it's built, because the way the plastic chute there is, too far away from the casing, unless you're running an industrial vacuum, that's not going to do anything. That's why it's sending dust everywhere. It's because the dust collection system is non-existent, or doesn't do anything, or is defective. So, yeah, that side of the unit where the dust collection port is doesn't do anything. And that might be why the instructions doesn't mention it or talk about it. You can see here I've attached my industrial vacuum to the outlet, if you want to call it that. If I come up here, and begin standing, okay, and that works a lot better. The air flows across the belt sander and down this plate and out the hose, which is pretty good, but dust still goes everywhere. Don't expect a whole lot of dust to be collected from this disc over here. So even with the dust collection, you get a lot of dust everywhere no matter what. So then you gotta go back and you gotta clean it up. You can see where the dust collects under the tray there. I have since moved the tray from the front to the top, and it's just a mess. I have to get out my vacuum and clean it up. You can take the horizontal table, you can put it up top, and mount it in the back with this knob. You'd have to remove this plate first, and that's great. This gives you access to the locking bolt over here, so you can stand it up and lock it down, and that'll work a lot better. But when this plate is in place, you lose access to that bolt, and that creates a bit of a problem. When you move the horizontal tray to the top, so that you can use that as a guide, say a 90-degree guide, you have these extra parts laying around, which isn't the greatest, and there really is nowhere to put them. You can see here I've mounted the horizontal table up top. Because there's no dust collection system, you need to wear a mask when using the upper belt. One of the things I tried to do is get some Diablo discs for my disc sander, and what I found was over time they pop right off. That may not be ideal. You probably want something a lot more tacky than this for your disc sander. It might work initially for a little while, and it'll be just fine. And then later on, you'll find it's flopping around and grinding into your guard plate there. And that guard plate is only screwed in with plastic mounts, so over time that's going to go bad. So think about that when you choose your sanding disc. Turns out I have a lot of wrenches, so what I do is I take the ones that are most important to my everyday tasks, and I put a little tape around them so I know these are special. Sometimes I even write on them to tell me what they're for. To release the upper deck here, you need to go behind and loosen the bolt behind it, which is on the back corner. Here there's a release for the belt, so you can detension the belt. You can hear the spring going right there, and the belt comes right off. Okay, see that? I'm just going to push that back in there. Now, you gotta watch your fingers. This is a guide knob, so you have your tension and your guide knob. Now, funny thing about guide knobs is you never know what's really right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little brown mark on my guide knob. I know when I turn this on that the belt's going to go straight. You can adjust your table by turning this knob. You can see the angle is changing there. This is where the plate used to be, which you can swap for this table. The table would go in front of the disc, and then you'd have a cover plate or guard in place of this. This is the cover plate that comes with the unit, which sits here when this table is in the front of the unit. The belt goes a little to one side, this side. When I turn it back, the belt goes that way a little bit. If you're not careful, you can walk the belt right off the unit. If you're not careful with this, you can walk the belt right off the unit while you're working with it. You don't want to do that. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to turn this guide knob back to the position where it was. So I have my mark and I know it's in the middle, and I'm good to go. So, can you hear the table vibrating like that and rattling? It's because it's mounted on one side, it's made of aluminum. It's kind of janky, not really the best mount, and not the most solid plate. So, when you're grinding, you're going to get that honking sound that you don't like so much. And you can even wind up bouncing your material against the plate. It's a little scary, but you're just going to have to deal with that. What I have here is a 4x36 Diablo belt. If you look at the picture, it looks exactly like this sander. So I can trust this for this purpose. If you look at the picture on these discs that I bought for this sander, you can see that the device that these are for is not really the same as this. But I am finding that the tack on these is not quite as good as it should be. Maybe these are older, maybe they've been on the shelf for a while, I don't know. But I'm going to be looking into that to see if I can get some better tack. If they don't wind up sticking the way I want them to, I'm going to get some contact cement and paint them a little bit before sticking them to the belt sander. Otherwise I'm going to have a major problem later on. To remove and replace the belt, detension the belt all the way. Make sure that that's locked. Slide the belt off. You have to kind of wiggle it off or walk it off like that. Throw it aside. Now, this package is really great. I've got 3 belts in here. What I can do take that belt and I can walk it on there. I want to get it past the edge of both wheels. So I can see it's on the silver wheel down here and on the silver wheel up here. And then I'm going to tension the belt. The tension isn't fabulous. So that's a little loose compared to this. If you're not careful with this, you can walk the belt right off the unit while you're working with it. You don't want to do that. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to turn this guide knob back to the position where it was. So I have my mark and I know it's in the middle, and I'm good to go. That's not too bad. The way that looks. That's working okay. And when I put this on, there's a little bit more slack in this belt. So yeah, there's a lot of movement down here. So here I can get, you know, all my fingers under the belt and I can pull it. Just be careful because you don't want to damage the unit while you're removing and reinstalling the belt. Make sure it's lined up with both drums. Quite lined up right. Okay, so with this one, yeah, I can still get my hand in here, but it feels generally a little tighter. So this purple belt is better than the red belt. Let's try some other red belts. So that's the purple belt, there's the first one I tried. Let's just try a different red belt. See if they come off with different machines or something. Maybe that one's just a little off. This one does seem to be a little snugger. Let's see if... get it lined up right before I lock it down. This belt is a little bit better, but it's still vibrating quite a bit. Yeah, the action on that is really terrible. The action on the slide here is terrible. It's loose, and sometimes it jams, and when it does, you have to know where it's jamming and why. Sometimes it's this plastic rod here, and other times it's the groove here in the deck, and that's a bit of a bummer, but you know, what do you expect for what you pay? Between uses, you might want to spin the belt with your hand while applying a little acetone to the disc, or even some paint thinner if you have that, turpentine. Anything to dissolve the glue that might still be on there. So there's some yellow stuff, that's some old glue. And just kind of work your way in as if you're sanding something. And I can feel it's a little rough towards the middle. And I can see there's some old glue on there. So I'm going to load up my my paper towel and go at it. And I'm moving the belt with my hand, that's the upper belt, while I'm spinning this. If you keep this surface clean, it'll be easier to put on that next disc. So now I'm going to try a little turpentine and see if that gets off some more of the glue. Anything to help dissolve some of that glue. Okay, so we're going to try a little paint thinner this time and see if paint thinner gets off the glue a little better than some of the other products. Well, that seems to have loosened up the glue a little bit better. Maybe the glue has been dissolving with the other chemicals in it, but either way, you know, you're going to get the job done with some kind of solvent. Let's try a little paint thinner on a blue abrasive pad. I don't like using the green pads because they can actually wear down things. So be aware that there are certain kinds of household abrasive pads that can wear down your equipment. Don't do this with the machine on. You will tear up your fingers real fast. Oh, that's actually coming out pretty good. Hey, there you go, folks. In my case, a little paint thinner and a little blue pad. And you can see I haven't scratched the surface at all. If I had a green pad, yeah, those green pads, those green abrasive pads, they're a little harsher on metal. You know, they're good for cleaning stainless steel pots and pans, but they will wear those pots and pans down eventually. These blue pads that are sold in America, they're less abrasive and really won't harm metal surfaces. So if you're in the UK or Europe or Asia, just remember, be very aware of which abrasive pads will actually tear up metal, or wear down metal, or score metal. Don't use those pads because you'll just wreck your equipment.